In our studio is our Roundup panel. It's led by our Fox 26 senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico. Chris, this is a hot topic. Our new governor, Greg Abbott, is going to be on Fox News Sunday in just a few minutes after our newscast talking about this same topic. Right, and let's back up a little bit. Common Core was started by Janet Napolitano when she was a governor, and she put together governors and academics to come together to get a core of teaching that would move our children ahead in mathematics and science. And Bill and Melinda Gates got behind it, gave money to do it. And so this is not a big government thing, in my view. And 45 states passed it. Then it started getting picked apart. And Texas never used Common Core that I know of. The big question is with the advent of No Child Left Behind and national standardized testing, grading schools based on children's performance that uses Common Core, how can Texas keep up? Let me introduce our panel. Mustafa Tamiz, our political analyst, Jackie Valley, public policy analyst. We'll start with you this time, Mustafa. This has been, we've had Common Core for a long time. 45 states out of 50 adopted it, and then it started really getting picked apart. Texas never jumped on that anyway. Right, and the states that are adopted are working through it, just like any major rollout that they're adjusting to it. But I just want to think about this for a minute. It's kind of voice of reason. We just talked about in an earlier segment that we've got legislation allowing students in university campus to carry guns. We've talked about legislation allowing teachers to carry guns inside, high schools. And when it comes to standards, we don't want to have standards. We rather have more guns in our school systems than standards, and that's the legislation we're talking about. There's something wrong. Jackie, the No Child Left Behind Act mandates a national test, national standards for schools that aligns with Common Core. If we don't use Common Core, how can we ever pass that grade?
But the same way you're seeing in a lot of these pilot programs, Common Core being torn apart, as you said, you're going to see less and less of our national standard tests using Common Core, because a lot of the states that have used the pilot programs have claimed that proficiency has decreased and failure has increased. And some of the core standards, pun intended, that Common Core was supposed to bring, they're not bringing. One of our viewers, Roberta Lee, she shared something on our Facebook page, and her friend had a son who answered every single thing on his test correctly. Every answer was correct. Because he didn't use the Common Core standard, he got a 39 instead of 100. And you're hearing complaints like this a lot from a lot of parents. It's a lot of, you're lacking common sense if you have to have every single thing lined up the way Common Core is situated. And that's what you're hearing from a lot of the parents and a lot of the teachers. Is it that rigid? I mean, is it that rigid that a kid who got everything right would get a 39 because he didn't put the Common Core words in there? There is a lot of misinformation about this. There is a sense that just because it's a standard that everybody should adopt, then we should have individuality. In order to bring up our education system, we're going to have to agree on what is the base minimum, where are the lines drawn so that school systems around the country can follow a similar teaching method. But Mustafa, what about the idea that in my classroom, I'm the teacher, I know these kids, and I should be able to move the education at my pace and the way I want to teach them? That's exactly right. It sounds perfect when you say it, but then what is the standard for the teacher? Do you want the least performing teacher to say, I'm going to do it my way, and your kid for the entire year doesn't learn anything or doesn't learn the things that other kids are learning for that same grade level? Or do you want a standard that is applied in every single state and saying no matter what the conditions are in the classroom, no matter what the conditions are for that teacher, because these are the national standards, you must apply that. And that's not what people want. But isn't that what George Bush put through? Well, we're talking about Common Core, and no, it's not. And when we're talking about Common Core, 140 of our House representatives versus 2 voted to keep it out of Texas, because as Governor Abbott has been rolling out his policies, he does have certain things that he wants to have in place for third graders and efficiency standards that he wants in place. Common Core is not one of them. If the No Child Left Behind Act is going to apply Common Core, isn't it the same thing? It becomes the national standard. And then Texas again loses federal money, and the money that would have come to our state goes into other states. But the bigger issue with this is, it's not that you're creating a ceiling, but you want to create a floor.
You want teachers to do much better than the basic standard. You want them to bring our kids to a higher level. But if you don't set a floor and some teacher decides somewhere that they want to just innovative teaching method that has not been tested, teach things in a way that's not going to move their kids forward, how will you as a parent know?
And these are, he's correct. This is on something, on one thing. This is a pilot program, and we are going to learn from it. And a lot of us do hope it's successful because we do want our students to achieve certain higher standards, and we do want our teachers to bring them to that standard. But what we're seeing from these pilot programs is not doing any of that. And that's why our current legislature is saying, look, let's take everything, as we do a lot of, let's take back our own control. Let's give the teachers in the classroom more control to bring the students to a certain level.
We just have a few seconds left. What is the Texas legislature doing to adopt a curriculum that's better than Common Core?
Nothing. And
That's not correct.
Well,
That's not correct.
Okay,
and if you go on Governor Abbott's website, you can see.
All right.
Okay, so so I think you may say that they're creating some kind of a standard to raise up education, and if they are, I don't know what that is.
Well, that's your problem.
No, it's not my problem.
If
It's
you don't know it,
Governor
if
Abbott
you don't
has
know
lots
it.
of things, but he has not talked about creating some kind of core curriculum standard
If
across
you
the
go
state.
on his website, you can see it. And he's been talking about it throughout his campaign, and he's been talking about
He's
it
talked
ever
about
since he's
pre-K.
been governor.
He's talked about pre-K.
Which is
He's
good.
talked
You
about
don't want him to
education.
talk about pre-K?
No, it's,
He's been talking
listen,
about pre-K to
let him
12th grade.
finish.
Well, you asked a question.
I know, I don't even finish his
He
statement.
doesn't go on Abbott's website. He wouldn't know.
No, I actually do go on Abbott's
Okay.
website.
Well, then you would see it.
And I've actually have studied it.
Okay, good. Okay, because you said
All
it
right, let him
wasn't
finish
there.
his statement.
And there is not.
he did.
Well, see, that's the issue, right? We want to govern by sound bites by attacking people without listening to what they're saying. Governor Abbott has done a lot for education. He's done a lot to
That's not
push
what you
early
said
childhood
earlier.
education.
That's not what you said earlier.
I'm trying to finish my statement.
Okay.
But he has not advocated for a standard, because if he did,
That's
that
not
would
correct
be,
either.
well, that would
I mean,
be
if you're going to
against.
say something that's incorrect, I'm going to correct
You've got to be
you.
able to finish his statement. We're going to have to leave it right there. If that doesn't solve the issue, Sally, I don't know what does.
I'm going to just say your recipes for the win. Let's just go with that.
We'll be back next week having that breakfast from Nate.